These days we're fairly spoiled. Passing the time on long commutes or in your dedicated reading room could be accomplished with a powerful computer that fits in the palm of your hand. But back in the late 70s and early 80s, handheld electronics was still in its infancy, and even though they were technically portable, they still often required a second-hand, hard surface, or sturdy lap to enjoy comfortably. But therein lies the charm. Half the fun of these old LED, VFD, and LCD display games was seeing how they turned a sequence of lights into a functional, easy-to-follow game.
Merlin's a game that you can play. You can play it 6 different ways.
Some like to play at Tic-Tac-Toe.
One of the earliest and one of the most successful handheld games was Merlin by Parker Brothers. Released in 1978, Merlin was the brainchild of former NASA employee Bob Doyle. With the assistance of his wife and brother-in-law, he developed a toy that was rather high-tech for the time. Flashing lights, space-age sound, and artificial intelligence powered by Texas Instruments TMS 1100 chip and 2 kilobytes of read-only memory. With a price tag of $25, almost $100 in 2020, it wasn't cheap. But Merlin was worth every penny. With 6 activities up its sleeve, it's impressively packed. Consequently, its versatility also led to its complexity. I feel bad for anyone who stumbled across one at a yard sale in the years before you could look things up on an internet. I'm sure it earned puzzling looks from those who first glanced upon Merlin sans documentation. Maybe they thought it was a retro-futuristic telephone with a few bright, blinking LEDs, alien robot farts coming out of the speaker, and a dedicated button to fulfill the device's masochistic fantasies. Luckily, I have the manual handy, and it is quite thorough, almost intimidating. But in reality, once you get the hang of how to call up the various activities, it becomes second nature. The first game on the agenda for Merlin is Tic-Tac-Toe, or Noughts and Crosses if you prefer the Commonwealth English pronunciation. I don't have to explain Tic-Tac-Toe to you. It's exactly like Hollywood Squares, except without the pre-written celebrity zingers.
And the little hand is on the donkey.
The human controls the blinking lights while Merlin handles the steady lights. Oh, you son of a bitch. Press same game to try again, and that's it. Game 2 is not so much a game as it is a musical instrument. Called Music Machine in the manual, this mode allows you to store a combination of up to 48 notes and rests that Merlin can play back for you. This makes the device sort of a primitive, simplistic music sequencer. I am not musically inclined. Thankfully, the instruction manual provides the numbers for several well-known public domain hits. It may not be enough to kickstart your dance party, but it provides a nice starting point for crafting your own electronic musical masterpieces. Even with the barriers imposed by the memory limitations of the era, Music Machine is a fun little time waster and one of Merlin's best features. Yeah. Game number 3 is called Echo. Interestingly, Merlin was released at the same time as Ralph Baer's Simon game. Echo is basically the same principle, except not really. Where Simon's sequence would get progressively longer, Echo has you pick between 1 and 9 notes before the game begins. You're not even playing long enough to know if you're having fun or not. The manual explicitly states that you could try to compete with a friend to see who makes fewer mistakes, therefore earning the right to advertise Merlin as a 1 or 2 player game. But in reality, I can't imagine players haven't spent much time on game number 3, either alone or in pairs. Game 4 is Blackjack 13. This is actually a very interesting variation on the game of 21, but instead it's 13, and there's only 10 cards in the deck. The object is to get as close as possible to 13 without going over. Your hand is represented by blinking lights. Once you are satisfied with your hand, Merlin, serving as the dealer, plays its turn. It hits on 9 or below and stands at 10 or higher. The game is surprisingly strategic, even if you swear Merlin cheats as it pulls yet another 13 out of his robot ass. Since each number only appears once, you have to decide if it's safe to try and get closer to 13 based on the available numbers left. Another solid game that likely got a great deal of playtime. Game number 5 is Magic Square. If you've ever played with Tiger Electronics' 1995 handheld game, Lights Out, you're already familiar with this game. The object is to press buttons in an attempt to form the magic square, which is represented by all the lights except the center lit up. Each button has a random pattern of surrounding lights it will affect. If the light is on, it will turn off, and vice versa. Keep messing around until you get the square, either by careful deduction or brute force guessing. Magic Square is a decent puzzle game, but since it doesn't really score your efforts or offer up any skill variations to challenge experienced players, victory comes off as hollow as the square you're attempting to recreate. And of course, the manual offers up a 2-player version involving messing up the square after you complete it and challenging the friend to fix it. Again, it's a bit of a stretch. The 6th and final game is Mindbender, basically a computerized version of Mastermind-type games. The object is to determine a series of digits using previous guesses as clues. This is probably the only game where you'll need pencil and paper handy, or if you're like me, pen and post-it. You can choose how long the number will be between 1 and 9 digits. After each guess, you are given feedback. So 6, 5, 7, 8. For each digit guessed correctly, you'll get a steady light. If that correct number is also in the right position, the light will blink. The object, obviously, is to try and do it in as few guesses as possible. 6, 5, 1, 4. Got it. The computer will keep track of the number of guesses and let you know after you've figured it out. Unfortunately, it only goes up to 10, so if you're really terrible at this, you'll want to keep score for yourself. And again, another 2-player mode that basically tells players to take turns guessing the same number and see who does better. I mean, every game is a 2-player game if you take turns playing by yourself. So to summarize, what you get with Merlin is 3 strong modes in Blackjack 13, Mindbender, and a music machine. 2 of the 6 games, Tic-Tac-Toe and Magic Square, are good for quick diversions at best. And the only truly weak game of the bunch is Echo, owing to its lack of depth or complexity. And okay, Parker Brother gets a finger wag for the fake 2-player modes, but overall, Merlin was a fun-filled device that is still enjoyable even today. It's no wonder Merlin continued well into the 80s, selling over 5 million units. There were a few updates to the basic design, such as 1982's Master Merlin and 1995's Merlin: The 10th Quest. But it was the original iconic red design that is most well remembered, and the version that was re-released in 2004, except in a smaller form factor, more clear numbered buttons, and voice commands replacing the generic beeps and boops. If you find Merlin in the wild, go ahead and bring it home. Just make sure to download the manual for maximum fun. This was Dave for TeeVee Games, thank you for watching.
Where's Merlin? Where did it go?
Jenny's got it playing tic-tac-toe.
Now where's Merlin?
When last seen, it was out with Dad playing Blackjack 13.
Where's Merlin now? Merlin's a game that you can play. You can play it 6 different ways.
Some like to play at tic-tac-toe. Others can test their skill at Echo.
Some play a tune on music machine or try to play Blackjack 13.